welcome to the 21st edition of the group exhibit, Hydrogen Fuel Cell Batteries. This is our last interview for today, so come and have a seat. This is the time to wrap it up and have fun. We'll be discussing cost-effective production of catalyst-coated membrane utilizing ultrasonic nozzles. Please help me welcome the Regional Cell Manager at Sono-Tek Corporation, Mr. Garrett Moye. Thank you for joining us.
No, thank you.
So let's get right to business.
Okay.
Ultrasonic spray, what is it?
Ultrasonic spray is basically when you take a nozzle and instead of using air pressure to create spray, you're using ultrasonic vibration. And that ultrasonic vibration creates a very soft, low velocity spray. And that's essentially the simple way to put it, but what it does is it reduces costs, and we'll talk about it later. But
how does it reduce costs?
So when you normally have a traditional spray method or a traditional production method, you have a lot of waste, and a lot of that has to do with the speed of the droplets and how they interact with the surface. You get a phenomenon called bounce back, where droplets hit a substrate and bounce off of the substrate. And that actually wastes material that gets exhausted, gets wasted. With ultrasonics, the low velocity spray is directed by air afterwards, meaning that you have you have an independent control of air compared to liquid, meaning that you could apply just enough air to apply the catalyst on the membrane without it bouncing back or getting exhausted.
So we would say then, because you're talking about membranes, your technology at Sono-Tek would be most applied to MEAs?
Right. So we're talking about MEA manufacturers that are depositing catalysts onto either GDLs or Nafion membranes.
And then you said that it was very accurate and allow you to not waste any material. If we were to put a percentage to that amount, what would that be?
So we're talking about having probably about a 90 to 95% transfer efficiency, which is quite high compared to a traditional like air atomizer setup that you might see in a lab that gets more along lines of 40 to 60% transfer efficiency.
So basically you're reducing your cost of input material, but also probably the overall process.
Right. So one of the important things with fuel cells is that you want to make sure that the amount of usage that you're basically putting onto that substrate is very high. But in addition to that, having a very uniform layer and depositing it very accurately also helps, because you're basically putting on just enough material that you need to create a efficient fuel cell and not too much. With traditional methods, most people apply just as much as they can in order to get a uniform layer. And sometimes that's too much. And one of the reasons why is it's because of the limitations of the current technologies that are used today to actually apply the catalyst or other materials onto these GDLs or Nafion.
So like you just mentioned, traditional methods, sometimes you have to apply too much to really get uniform spray compared to ultrasonic, where this is not a problem. So that brings me to the questions of basically what you're offering, your technology is really useful in the research and development platform.
Right. So one of the benefits of the technology is that you have a very accurate liquid delivery system in our research and development systems. You also have the accuracy of the ultrasonics. And what that does is it allows you to really fine-tune the amount of catalyst or material that you're depositing onto your Nafion or GDL. And not only does it do that, but it does it repetitively, over and over again. So you can get the same deposition over and over. And that's really important when you're doing research and development, because that allows you to really understand what chemical changes or what substrate changes really affect the efficiency of your cell at the end of the day.
So if you were going to scale or try to research a certain amount of catalyst, so if I increase it by a certain amount, you can have that precision through your process to ensure that your data you're collecting is correct.
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the benefits there being that, if you have a repeatable coating and you have a highly accurate coating, you know exactly what direction to move in terms of whether I need to change my chemistry one way or another, or your substrate. So it makes it really easy that way.
So we talk a lot about research and development and how the ultrasonic spray can be used, but you said it was really precise and repeatable, so you would say this should be allowed in large-scale production as well. Why don't we see any of that?
Well, with large-scale production, I mean, you have, for the fuel cell industry, large-scale production right now is really limited. You have a couple key players that, are producing large amounts of fuel cells. But Sono-Tek itself is a company that applies coatings to architectural glass. So Sono-Tek has many other applications aside from just MEA coatings. So we have large-scale systems that are 16 meters wide, coating architectural glass. And for Sono-Tek, it's really easy to scale up. Because it's a spray-based technology, you can scale it from a size that's 5 centimeters by 5 centimeters all the way to 10 meters wide if you want. It's just a spray technology, so you add more spray heads, and it's scalable in that fashion. So whether or not the fuel cell industry is ready for it, Sono-Tek will be ready to, have a full cell production system for you.
So do you foresee that the FC or fuel cell manufacturer or MEA manufacturer will be ready to buy and go large scale with Sono-Tek?
Yeah, so that's all market dependent. The interesting thing, the industry itself, it gets more and more scaled towards a production type setup, and you see that year and year. But it's Sono-Tek is ready. So if the customer is looking at potentially scaling up, Sono-Tek can do it at an extremely cost-effective way, meaning that the larger you scale up by the numbers using a spray technology, the better cost efficiency you're going to get and cheaper production method.
And you've proven the reliability of your product in other industries than fuel cell as well.
Yeah, so most of Sono-Tek's products outside of fuel cells are running in production environments. These are environments that are running 3 shifts a day, 8 hours a day. And one of the reasons why customers use us is because of the repeatability and the reliability of the actual ultrasonic nozzle itself.
But if we go back and step back to the R&D now, one thing you mentioned as a great advantage of the Sono-Tek R&D booth, if you want, like that unit you have down at your booth, which is located at D31, which is on the way back here. You said it was very flexible, and it allows, I believe, different material to be sprayed on, so you can kind of widen your range of R&D.
Yeah, so one of the things that we're seeing lately is that many customers are trying out many different materials. So it may not be carbon black on platinum. It may have nickel in it. It may have, different types of, support mechanisms. And the good thing about that research and development system is that not only can you change the liquid within a couple minutes, but you can also coat different size substrates and different form factors. And what I'm seeing in the MEAs around here is that you might have circular MEAs, you might have very small MEAs or very large ones. That research and development system that we have at Sono-Tek, it's called the Exacta-Coat. It'll accommodate any form factor that you want. Anything within a lab scale, upwards to 400 millimeters by 400 millimeters, anything underneath there, you can coat with that system. So if you're ready to go from a 5 centimeter by 5 centimeter sample, if you want to do a large 10 by 10, the same system that you would have for that 5 by 5 is available in your lab.
And I think one thing to mention is I've seen you here 4 years ago. We had the same kind of setup and interview, and everything about what Sono-Tek was doing was a little bit we couldn't talk about it.
Yeah.
Now it seems like things have opened up. You even have references, which maybe you can mention a few today.
Yeah, so one of the great things about seeing the progression over the fair over the years is that many of my customers are much more open to discussing using our technology to manufacture their MEAs. And that wasn't the case many years ago. Many years ago, everybody was extremely secretive about how they manufactured the MEAs, what types of technologies that they used. And today, these guys are coming up to me that have been using my system for a long time, and they say, "Hey, I want you to meet, somebody that I'm working with. I think they can use your system," or, "Hey, I'm planning on doing this. I'm working with this customer." And not only that, but they provide us references. And we have customers like the University of South Carolina and Paxitech that we can go to reference our equipment. And customers can go to them and say, "Yeah, Sono-Tek's equipment does this and performs this way." And it's not something that we had in the past. And it's good to see that the kind of the market and everything is changing in that direction.
And why do you think there's that shift in being more open and sharing information?
I think that one of the important things is, as a market or an industry kind of matures, that you really have to be open, and you have to kind of share ideas, and you have to network, and you have to get yourself in a position where you're not competing with your own industry. You're basically, competing against other industries. So you don't want to be in a position where everybody's keeping something so secretive that it restricts your growth. And I've seen it in the past with other industries, like the medical industry and the glass industry. They have very secretive processes, and what happens is that the market just naturally goes to a different method or a different industry. So say, for example, in medical, there was one push for some particular model type stent, and they were very secretive, very proprietary, but somebody found a different way to do it. And that different way, overall, at the end of the day, ended up taking over the market. So would you say the message is teamwork is important in this point in the game in the fuel cell industry? Oh yeah, especially for such a small network of people. I mean, we all know each other. You shouldn't be too secretive. Well, I just want to remind everybody, it's a public forum, so you're welcome to ask any question. Raise your hand if you have. I'll come down with a microphone. I also want to invite you to go and visit Sono-Tek's booth, which is located at D31, which is straight behind us. Just keep going straight for about 500 meters. And I want to come back here on some of the points. I've seen your machine down at your booth for the R&D process, and if I was the one university in Canada, let's say I represent a university in Canada, I come and see you and I'm interested in buying your product, one question I would have is, how easy is it to run? The system itself, actually, when somebody decides that they're interested in the system, what Sono-Tek does is we offer lab testing. And it's a feasibility type lab testing. So if you have chemistry that you want to work with and some substrates, what you can do is you can send them to Sono-Tek, or you can send them to one of the 5 different lab locations around the world. We have 2 locations in Europe, and we have 3 in Asia. And what you do is you send your chemicals and liquid there, and we'll coat it. We'll coat your substrate, and we'll test for feasibility if it's a viable kind of coating method. And then what we do after that is, once you've decided that, hey, you want to take the next step and invest in the equipment, what we do is we go to a customer's location with the piece of equipment, and we install it, and we train that person on how to operate it. And it only takes maybe a day or 2 of an operator working with the machine to actually start coating their own samples. So it's really easy. So, and if I was to purchase a machine, you would give me a training as part of the deal? Oh yeah, that's all included. And what about after the fact? A lot of the time we forgive, we think, oh, it's a great product, it's been used everywhere, you give me 2 days of training, and then a year down the road, I want to try a different substrate on my machine, I have some issues. Is there any phone support available? Oh, yes. So at Sono-Tek, we actually have applications engineers. Those applications engineers are specialized in fuel cell catalyst coating. And basically what you could do is call into Sono-Tek. We give free application support. We also give free service support for the machine, for the lifetime of the machine. And it's a 1-year warranty bumper to bumper on the machine. So. And what would be the expected lifetime of one of those machines? We have customers now running with them for 5-10 years. It really depends on the amount of use. Most of our customers with the Exacta-Coats now, we've had the product for like 10 years, 12 years, and some of those oldest models are still out there running, and it takes a long time to kill them because the technology itself is from the production side of the world. So we expect to use these things in production. So
24 hours around the clock, basically. Well, once again, I invite you to go see their product down at their booth. Great lab product, and I'm sure Garrett will be more than happy to discuss further with you this information. But this will wrap up the day, so thank you everyone for your attention, and thank you, Mr. Moye, for your time as well.
Thank you very much.
We'll see you tonight. And I just want to take a few minutes here to let you know that this concludes the day for the public forum. This was the last presentation, but we'll be back tomorrow starting at 10 a.m. So stay tuned and come and see us tomorrow. As well, all of the interviews today are available probably tomorrow later in the day as a live stream. You can see them on the public forum tab. Just visit our website at www.h2fc-fair.com. And again, under the public forum tab, you can get to re-see all these interviews if you've missed any of them. They'll be available as a video. Thank you very much for your time, and we'll see you very soon.